Welcome back to another episode of Driven Autosports how-to videos. My name is Sammy, and if you're new to the channel, I try and teach and motivate as many people as I can with the things that I'm not even really that sure about. But today I'm kind of sure about something, so I'm going to make a video. Today you're going to learn a trick or two, maybe three, on how to remove stubborn wiper blades. And as you can see here, I have this puller. Check that out, look at it. Recognize it, and let me show you how it works. This is trick number one. Grab the puller, and we get it onto the wiper blade like this. When you twist this part here, it tightens up the clamp underneath. Tightens it under here, so you keep going till it's nice and tight. Once it snugs up, you see it's holding its own weight up now because it's snug. Then we start twisting the top here, and that applies pressure to the stud. Now this will not come off on its own without the puller, so we keep adding pressure. Because see how it's kind of rusty and seized there? It seized itself on. So I keep twisting, and eventually it's gonna pop off. Boom, there it goes. So now it's popped off, and you could see when I lifted it, that corrosion that fell there, that's what was holding it tight. That is tip number one for removing a stubborn wiper blade, and probably the best tip. Now you're wondering, if that's the best tip, why do we need another tip number two, maybe tip number three? Why do we need that if that tip is the best? Because sometimes you'll be in situations where you cannot fit the puller on. So let me show you, for example, look at these wiper blades. See how it's hidden under the hood? And when I pop the hood, it's so tight against the hood that the puller does not fit. So if this vehicle had stubborn wiper blades, we could not use that trick. So tip number two, let's say you got the wiper blade on and it's not coming off. What you do is you go ahead and thread the nut back on. Make sure the thread's on nice, but you don't go all the way down. You kind of leave it up a bit. Now here I should go a bit lower with it. And I'm very happy with it right there. So as you can see, I got enough threads on it. I'm probably halfway threaded on, but there's also a gap between the bottom of the wiper blade and the top of the nut. The gap is between the top of the nut right here and the bottom of the wiper blade down in here. Okay, there's a gap there. And what that means is now we have something to work with. So what you want to do now is you want to put one hand under here and you want to pull pressure upwards with your hand. Keep pressure upwards right here, up. And at the same time with your other hand, you want to smack this with a flat hammer, being careful not to damage the nut. So you want to hit it nice and flat. And if this arm is pulling pressure up and this is smacking it down, you're going to start to break that corrosion off and it's going to come loose. Now, sometimes if they're really badly seized, it will not come loose. So add some penetrating oil in here and then try that trick. Tip number three, and the last one, is that you can introduce the torch. Now, when you're heating up the nut on the shaft, the threaded bolt that is going to hold the nut on for the wiper blade, what that's going to do is it's going to break the seal. It's going to break the seal that's holding it, that's seized on. But the tricky part is most of the time there's a plastic cowling underneath, and if you put a torch on it, you're going to start to melt things. So what you have to do, put a cloth here, make sure it's nice and wet, and once the cloth's on there and it's super wet, that's going to take some of the heat away from the torch melting this plastic. And you want to be very careful to concentrate the heat right here without melting anything around it. And if you can do it properly, you're not going to damage anything around, and you're going to break that seal. Okay, there you have it. There's some tips to remove stubborn wiper blades. Hopefully this was helpful, and until next time, I'm out.